I choose diversity because who wants a one flavor world? Okay, and we're back for the third part of this sit down with Khash and Rebecca. We have had 2 sessions before this. So if you're new to our podcast, I invite you to go back, watch segment 1 and segment 2, because we're continuing on the same premise, which has been education, both early childhood education as well as higher education, and the struggles that children, youth, and adults face in different parts of the world when it comes to education. We have discussed these issues in a collective manner. Nutrition has been brought up so many times with regards to childhood education because it is just so important. Without nutrition, our brains don't function properly and we don't learn. That's why collectivity, sustainability, all of those things are so important in advancing our society towards a nobler kind of a community. Welcome back, Khash and Rebecca, to the third session.
Thank you.
Rebecca, I'd like to start with you. As a certified group relation consultant, what have you learned about group dynamics and their effect on individuals within the broader community?
Sure. So to give you a little bit of a context, this is, I'm certified group relations consultant through the A.K. Rice Institute for the Study of Social Systems. And this is an education organization with a mission essentially to study the unconscious processes, systems, and dynamics that happen within groups. The groups can be your family, it can be your work environment, it can be your faith community, it can be anywhere. Essentially, the best way to talk about it is that systems and dynamics are always at play, no matter where you are. They can be happening on the metro, they can be happening at a restaurant, anywhere where there are other people who are learning to cooperate with one another and work together. You often can see some patterns of how people behave towards one another and what we're learning about ourselves in the context. And that's a really key important part, because until we engage and know and ask questions and talk, we don't really know what's going on with other people. We may notice things like, that's curious. I would have never, I noticed something happening. For example, when a woman speaks and uses her voice, she may get this kind of response from a crowd versus when a man speaks, or when a person of color speaks, or from the educated versus non-educated. So all these things are always at play. These are inherited beliefs from our culture or from our families that we unconsciously exhibit. So it's important, I think, to recognize that these things, organizational dynamics, system level dynamics, unconscious processes are always at play. I essentially came into the work in 2004 and I became certified, I think around 2016. And one of the things I first did was I started to notice my own behavior, things that somehow I might be triggered by, and my reaction to things. So for example, I can think of the work environment is replete with opportunities of lessons learned, how you deal with power, how you relate to it yourself. Do you feel like you have power? Sometimes we ask ourselves, who am I to suggest change? I'm just a nobody. I'm a woman. I'm this kind of person. And I think it's important for people to question that these are also inherited beliefs, what you can and can't do. Oftentimes we learn a tremendous amount from immigrants who come to this country about how they see systems and dynamics and their own personal authority. They forge pathways that have never been forged before. They take risks. They learn, they study, they become part of communities who they share no cultural connections to. With this understanding, I became a much more curious person. I stopped making sort of assumptions about how things work and asked, what if I observe and see how I can make an impact? And I was interested in learning the systems of community in Tanzania, in particular among the Maasai people, and started to observe how change happens, how dynamism happens. And I stopped making assumptions like it's always going to be this way. And I said, you know what? When you make a small intervention, it has a ripple effect and things start to change. When we become curious, we have a choice on how, we have choices on how we choose to react and participate. When we are constantly driven by impulse or by fear or by programming, we perpetuate the same patterns that have limited perhaps us or our ancestors, and we perpetuate it even for our own children. One of the important elements is that everyone matters. We don't have a belief that if we just get rid of certain people, things will be fine. Right. In the study of systems dynamics, we recognize that every single person, regardless of their trauma, regardless of their history, is part of the system whether we like it or not. And they have an impact. So we can decide, we can draw upon from the deep well of our own, morality, sense of goodness, desire to make change, to say, how am I going to bring this person in so that they don't feel pushed out? Sometimes it's easy to wish people away. Like if we just didn't have those people, things would be fine. But there's no way. They're always operating and it's always having an impact on us. Let's be efficient and say, how can I bring them in? How can I learn about their struggle? How can I hear their story? Then we've developed capacity in ourselves. And this is why I'm always a student of this. I will be to the day I die.
We all are, aren't we? We all we can strive for, all we can hope for is to learn more and more and progress and advance. And there is no perfection. There's no level of perfection. It's just a journey upwards. That's the way I look at things. Before we end these sessions, Khash, I want to go back to your experiences in higher education. And in the first segment of the series, you explained how Baha'i youth were deprived of higher education. And as a result, the professors, the teachers at universities who were expelled from work because of their faith got together and they established this undergrad institute for higher learning, and how you got your undergrad education from there, and so on and so forth. Now, I invite our viewers to go back and watch the first part of the episode with Khash and Rebecca, because we covered a few things both regarding early education systems in Tanzania and higher education for Baha'i students in Iran that are very, very important in community building. So I invite you to go back and watch that episode if you haven't. But we won't go through it again because it's there and our viewers can go and watch it. So what I would like to ask you, having been through that and now being one of the teachers at that institute, what do you have to say for youth that are deprived of education and maybe other things throughout the world? And we know it's not necessarily in Iran. There are other places for various reasons, for whether it's poverty or other issues. How can you inspire them not to give up and to try the same way that the Baha'is didn't give up in Iran and established that institute? What do you have to share with our viewers that could be inspiring?
To be honest, I just encouraged young people in Iran and other places who may have limited access to education to stay resilient and keep pursuing knowledge however they can. I think it is vital to stay connected to their communities and try to explore alternative education resources. There are many online learning and whatever available, whatever they can do. It is important not to become disappointed. I think the ultimate goal of education is probably rendering service to the community and to ability to lead a decent life. So if they can find other ways to empower themselves to learn or to gain experience, they shouldn't be like disappointed or disencouraged. And the other thing that I think can be helpful is self-studying. The BIH is a great example. Most of the courses didn't have any in-person classes, or we didn't know the teachers. We just a book at the beginning of each term. Several books were introduced to us, just title of the books, and we purchased them, and we learned the topics and the subjects by self-studying. So don't never get disappointed. And nowadays we have lots of resources. At the time, if you wanted to know the meaning of a single word, we had to go to a library, find the relevant encyclopedia or dictionary, search through it, and it was not easy. But now we have online resources. I'm sure there are many of them through webinars and workshops. There are many live online sessions that provide interactive learning experiences. Or even in YouTube, you can find tutorials for different topics. If you feel that you are interested in a specific subject, just Google it and find like educational videos on YouTube, or podcasts like this. It can be educational, or mobile apps. I knew many friends that learn languages by Duolingo, which is a mobile app. Even Instagram or Twitter, you can find, if you have a specific interest like physics or mathematics, Instagram will notice that and then just offers you more and more of those videos. And peer learning, of course, study groups. So never get disappointed. First of all, education is not the goal. It is important, but it's not the goal. So don't get disappointed.
I
And
think what you
no,
mean is a degree is not the goal.
it's a degree. Yeah, degree. I mean,
Education,
formal education, like
yeah,
lots of
right,
diplomas and
right,
certificates,
right.
those papers. BIH student, when I was a student, there was no degree. None of us had gone abroad, or nobody has gone to any other universities like to be accredited. So we didn't have any hope like that, and we didn't have any degree. We just relied
Oh,
on our learning, and 50% of this was self-studying. It was okay. It was totally natural, and had to go buy books, physical books to learn. Now everything is available online. You can
that's
just find it and just schedule yourself to be focused on the subject, and then try to learn.
that's
This is,
wonderful.
it's education is a fundamental right, and nobody should be deprived of education, and we should find ways to learn.
Well said. Education is a fundamental right. And I'm glad that you talked about the degree not being the end goal. It's the learning that matters. Yes, the degree will help us in so many areas, especially financially or economically, but it's the learning that helps us grow as individuals and as human beings. Having listened to both Khash and Rebecca, I personally have gained so much knowledge and benefited from their insight and their wisdom and in their thoughts and what they have shared. And I hope that our viewers have also enjoyed it and benefited from it. I honestly, personally cannot underestimate the value of learning and knowledge and education. And again, I'm not talking about getting a degree or having several letters after your name. I'm talking about learning. And I like something that Khash said about the goal of education, the goal of learning being service to humanity, service to our fellow man, fellow humankind. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I hope that we think about that. I mean, if we are not to serve humanity, if we are not to be of benefit to society, then why do we learn? Why do we, and what is the point of existence? Growing up as a child, and listening to the news or reading, I always wondered why everything was so listened to, like things on the news, for example, when the news of conflict somewhere in the world was going on, it would become this great topic of heated conversation about who's right and who's wrong, and who should win the war and who should back out of the war and things like that. And even as a child, I remember sitting back and thinking, why is nobody talking about the consequences of these conflicts? Why is no one caring that that's adding to world hunger, that it's adding to lack of prosperity of all sorts? So thank you, my beautiful friends, Rebecca and Khashayar, for being here and discussing these very important issues. I hope to have you both back and discussing some things further. I invite our audience to share as well, communicate with us. If you want to come on these podcasts as guests, please reach out, tell us how you would like to contribute, what you have to say, and if it's along the lines of unity and diversity, one world, one family, acceptance, education, prosperity, we welcome you. We want to build a strong community that cares about the entire world. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can look it up, Panacea9 by Gloria Yazdani or by Gloria Y. Follow us on multiple social media platforms. If you engage, if you subscribe, and if you like and comment, that would help the algorithm and make our program become more noticeable by viewers, and hopefully more and more people will engage with us, and they will benefit from us and we will benefit from them. So thank you, Khash. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you so much. It was great. Actually, I learned a lot, and I hope to see the podcast everywhere.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gloria, and for everyone who's been behind this, Ario and Khash. Thank you for bringing yourselves here and for allowing me to be part of this very important podcast. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. We love to have both of you. Thank you so much. And thank you, world. Thank you, people, old friends, new friends, future friends. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.